Okay, guys, we're back for the final part of the Friday Night Social Golden Question. And we've got our Everton fan. Cal, you've got a question for the rest of us here. What's your question tonight, mate?
We all know how good Pep's been at City. Probably the best manager City and as that the Premier League have ever seen. You know, the football, he's changed the football every Premier League team play. But, you know, he's not, you can't criticise him for much because he's won everything there is besides in the Champions League to win at City. But what has been, as fans, your worst moment of Pep since his arrival in 2016?
Oh, who do you want to ask that to first?
We'll go to Mick.
Mick. Yeah, come on, Mick.
Mick.
Ooh. Come on, give us some satisfaction, Mick.
I'd have a follow-up to that, but I can't do it. We're live.
It's a joke off camera, but you'll see it in the outtakes.
Wait till Monday night. Right, I've got a feeling this question was set up for me because Cal knows all about this. My worst moment under Pep's got to be, Cal, I'm going to give it to you because you've still got the T-shirt. When Everton beat us 4-0, I was sat there with the missus. I've never seen a more inept performance from the City team. It was like every shot they had was going in. Tom Davies even scored, which was like a miracle. I don't know what was going on that day. It was just awful.
Yeah, it was a crap.
No disrespect to Everton. It was just the way we played.
We were just too good. That was the thing. We were just too good.
That and Leicester, that was too.
I nearly said Tottenham away though in the Champions League. That's mine. Nearly couldn't split.
That's mine.
Right, okay.
Shut up, Mark.
Go on. Who are you going next, Cal? You've got Carl in Washington, you've got Chris, and you've got Alan.
We'll go to Carl.
Okay.
Yeah, Chris, I was going to say the same thing as well. For me, the worst was the away game Champions League at Tottenham. Why? Because the moment we saw the team list, we knew we were going to. I knew we were going to lose. He was playing cautious. I just knew we were going to lose, and we lost 1-0. And that game, in my opinion, led to us not winning the Champions League. Because if we got through that game, we had Ajax. I think we'll knock them off. I think in the final against Liverpool, we'll knock them off. In my opinion, that game really, really was the issue. And for me, it was, look, we won the Premier League. You know, what's the priority? The priority is that first leg away, get it done. Then come home and do what you need to do. But it was a disaster for me. You know, I mean, the one at home that we lost, we won 4-3, but we lost overall. That was even, I could swallow that. But the away game, it really hurt. That really hurt for me.
Chris or Alan?
We'll go to Chris.
Yeah, mine is, as a game, is the Tottenham away leg. Pep went against his whole philosophy, and it backfired. It didn't help that Sergio missed a penalty, but that for me was when Pep went against everything that he stood for, and you know, I think that was a weird tie all in all. But that was a moment. He had a very difficult first season, but I think he was learning about his squad and about the Premier League at the same time. But the Champions League game against Spurs is the one moment. The Everton game, we didn't play well, and a team doesn't play well every game, and Everton had a good game, and that's the way it was. But for me, it's same as Carl. It's the Spurs away.
Alan.
I've got two. I've got the Spurs game which I went to because I basically flew in on the weekend, went to a wedding, then went to Spurs away for the Champions League, and Pep, like Chris said, went against everything he'd done all that season. We won 11 on the bounce, go out and attack teams and just batter them. Which if he'd done that, we'd have probably won 3-4-0. I guarantee it. Yeah. But he came in there with no Leroy, no Kevin De Bruyne. He put two holding midfielders in. He put Delph at fullback, who hadn't played for 3 months, and played defensive, tried to get a draw, which I've never seen Pep do in his life, and lost 1-0. I remember getting in the minibus going back up the M1, where there was traffic jams left, right, and centre, and no one in the whole minibus said a word. They were all fuming at Pep. Every single person was fuming with him. I think that was one that made me angry. The one that hurt the most, I would say, was losing to United last season and the negative attitude of the players and Pep. He changed the side big time because he was resting players for the Madrid game. And when you play against United, I don't give a toss who we've got there. We have to beat them. Don't care. And United, the performance when, especially when Edison threw the ball out to whoever it was at United, and it went on and scored. I walked out. I stormed out the pub. I was absolutely furious. I was absolutely good job. I wasn't doing a fouling. I was lambasted Pep for that performance because I held him responsible for that. So there's two of them.
Andy?
Yeah, I mean, if I had to pick one, it would be that Spurs. No, not that game, mate. Yeah, even though that was pretty embarrassing against such a terrible team like Everton. It was, it was, yeah, you were brilliant on the day, we were crap. That Spurs game was disappointing. The lineup was disappointing, that first leg. For me, if I had to pick another one to try and be a bit different to everyone else, what disappointed me more than anything was the 2-0 up against United when we could have won the title. And then get beat 3-2, and it was like, Jesus Christ, we were all there ready to celebrate behind in the South Stand. We were getting mental, and
then Raheem Sterling became Raheem Sterling.
That's the thing, isn't it? I don't blame Pep for that result because we should have been 5-0 up at half time.
Yeah, we should have done, but I think in that game he could have made a couple of changes earlier because there were a couple of players in that game that, even though the first 20, 25 minutes we were brilliant, there were a few players that were still left on the pitch for a long period of time when it went 2-1 and then 2-2, and it was like, make a change. Pep's like very stubborn, keeps to his 65, 70 minutes, and then we go and get beat 3-2, and we could easily. They should have had, with Guerrero. The tackle on Aguero and everything else, and I mean, if I had to pick one, it was that Spurs game. We all said it before the game. What the hell is going on here with this lineup? And agree. He went there looking for a draw, and as Alan said, if he played the full team, we could have come away from White Hart Lane with 3-0 win, and the tie would have been over. But yeah, I can't. Listen, it's Pep Guardiola. We've seen the best football I've ever seen. Certainly, I've seen the best football I've ever seen. So I can't be too harsh on.
How do I answer this? Do I answer Pep's worst moment, or do I say? Because I've got two. I'll say Pep's, and I'll say about Everton's worst moment since Pep's come in. Obviously, Pep's worst moment was when he got absolutely outclassed and outfought by Ronald Koeman in that incredible 4-0 win at Goodison. I still can't believe how that happened. Because the entire game,
neither can we.
It's just Lukaku was a god and decided to turn into an absolute god for that game. And if we're going on Everton's worst moment since the arrival of Pep, because we've had a lot of managers, because we're amazing.
Good night, Cal.
Man has to be the 5-2 loss to Liverpool.
That was horrible.
That was like, because the 5-2 loss at Anfield
this year.
In December.
What, is that even worse than Pickford throwing the ball in his own net?
See, that was bad, but that was only 1-0.
Well, I mean, if you want another one, I was going to say the away game at Everton. Me and Martin were at last year was. Yeah. I was going to say the atmosphere. Certainly, the Gladys Street was the most silent stadium I've ever been in.
When you beat 2-0,
it was just absolutely appalling, and that I was worried that it was going to set alight.
That was a good
the
result.
amount of people smoking in the wooden stadium. But anyway, I'm only joking, mate. I love Goodison Park. It's one of my favourite stadiums. Yeah, it is. Oh, God, it's difficult. We're picking little tiny things that I can see. There's been far more positives.
Right. That's a lot of crap. Sack him tomorrow.
Yeah, get rid of him. Right, we've got to move on. Finish this section, and we're on to Alan. Alan, your question.
Right. This is as a fan, okay, and only as a fan, okay. What was your worst memory and funniest memory as a football fan watching City? And obviously for Carl, as an Everton fan.
There's not been many good moments.
Right, yeah. So your worst memory as a football fan, as a City fan, and your funniest memory as a City fan, and in Carl's, we mean Everton, okay? So I'm going to go. Do you understand the question?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to go, Martin. What is your worst moment?
He might not understand it, but we do.
Yeah. What is your worst memory and funniest memory?
I'm just thinking of one.
Come on, Mick. Hurry up, Mick.
All right. If you can't think of one, we'll go to
Chris.
Chris.
I've got one. My worst moment as a City fan was probably I've got two. It's either the Bury game or it's getting relegated at Stoke. That hurt big style.
What funniest?
And the funniest as an actual City fan. I said last week. It's one I said last week because I've never laughed so hard in my life was that Jamie Pollock own goal. Because it was like I couldn't believe I was watching. It was just, you know, where you've got to keep watching it and think, what are you doing? And I laughed because it was like, that's unbelievable. I've just seen our own whatever you want to call him, you know, play like Ronaldinho or Rivaldo, but in his own net. It was like, what are you doing? I don't think Jamie Pollock has ever been that skillful in his career. And I just couldn't believe it. I couldn't be upset with him because I was laughing so hard about it.
Okay.
Andy.
Worst memory is definitely being there when David Pleat ran across the pitch and celebrated that. You know, it was horrible. Yeah. Absolutely, it's embedded in my memory, and it's just I just hated every single second of that stupid dance that he did.
I thought it was the colour of his suit myself.
Yeah, well, yeah, Mr. Beige. Yeah, it was. Yeah, I still I can recall it so vividly now, watching him do that stupid dance and then watching it on Match of the Day and things like that afterwards. I mean, it was just horrendous. So for me, I just hated that moment. Absolutely hated it. Funniest memory is not a City game. It's actually the 93-20 moment when Sky switched to the United fans. And they're all celebrating, and the players are celebrating, and everything else. And then you see Phil Jones sort of like, what's going on? And then it's like Ferguson shuffling them back on the pitch to go. Oh, there we go. I don't know what was going. I don't know what was going on there. Cal,
I'm here.
No, Cal. Sorry, Everton. Cal.
And then we've lost him.
Okay. Obviously a bit of interference there, but yeah, that United game, the 93-20. Seeing that back on watching everything that went on there, then watching the Sunderland fans, the fan cams of the fans in the stadium singing to United and everything else.
Oh, that was funny. That we were doing a podcast.
It was just absolutely superb. So yeah, I laughed my ass off over the next 2 days when I saw all that back. So yeah, David Pleat and the 93-20 United fans and the Sunderland fans for me.
Okay, Chris.
I think, like Martin and Andy have said, I think any relegation sort of thing is a real downer. No doubt, no two ways about that. I think the lowest moment I ever felt was probably before Kevin Horlock scored in the '99 playoff final. I couldn't believe we were 2-0 down to Gillingham. You know, I just felt empty at that moment. But I'm going to go to 2 Old Trafford games that really, one, can't even explain how pissed off I was when Michael Olin scored in the 4-3. I wasn't there, I was at home, and I remember the missus dragging the kids to the bottom of the garden as I kicked their toys all over the living room. I remember they had like a garage thing that was a 2-tier thing, and I was just kicking it everywhere as when Owen scored that.
I'm just ringing social services.
Yeah. She dragged me to the bottom of the garden. I was miffed, mate. But you know, if I'm really honest, my lowest ever thing was going 2-0 down to Gillingham. But my favourite and the funniest thing, I mean, there's plenty of really funny things going back to the 90s with City, but I think the moment that I laughed my head off the most was when we went 5-1 up against United at Old Trafford, and then when Zeko scored the 6th, I think I wet my pants, mate. It was just like, what is going on? We are at Old Trafford and we put 6 past them. I was laughing. I just laughing my head off, mate, because I couldn't believe what I was seeing.
I've got a feeling Ferguson wet his pants as well.
Chris, I was at my mother and father's 50th wedding anniversary in Sri Lanka, right? And we're in this 5-star hotel. We're watching the middle of the night the derby, that 6-1 game. And when the 6th goal went in, I actually jumped on the bar, grabbed a bottle of champagne from the side of the bar, and squirted it over everyone. And these people, like, my cousins are Reds, and all the rest of my side of the family are all Blues. So my cousin Stuart stormed off, and a couple of other people. The rest of them were just looking at us really strange because they don't understand the concepts of the rivalry. And I'm squirting champagne everywhere. Brilliant.
That game is just, you know, whatever happened with Mancini and whatever you think of Mancini, that picture of him sat in the dugout at Old Trafford just looking up and laughing is just like what every City fan I think felt like. Fuck you. All these years of all the shit we've taken off those fucking scumbags, and we fucking stuck 6 past them in their fucking backyard. Sorry for all foul language. I fucking hate them.
Anyone else? Carl?
Yeah, I'm back.
Okay.
Oh,
Which
Carl
one?
in Washington.
Oh,
Yeah. For me, I think one of the worst was the FA Cup final, Wigan against City. Yeah, I was broken. I was just out of air. That really was like, you know, it was just horrible, man, to watch that happen. And it happened like 15 minutes to go.
There were 6 favourites as well. I mean, it was like, this is Wigan. It's,
yeah,
you know.
And one of the funniest was watching Kyle Walker in the Champions League in goal with the pink and the green, looked like a parrot. And I thought that was funny. Yeah. So
I'll go mine. The worst memories, I've got 2. One was for David Pleat. I was in the main stand for that.
Yeah,
David Pleat, when Alex Williams punched the ball out and the guy come in and slotted it home, and we got relegated for the first time. I was stunned more than anything else, and seeing David Pleat do that, I could have killed him. I think that was one. The second one,
it was horrendous. It was just like I was so angry that day.
I know.
I could run on the pitch and grabbed him. I would have.
It was a funny one. It was a funny one because we got rained off playing cricket that day when I raced the main road to watch that game, and I wasn't going to go, and I wish I hadn't gone. I wish I'd played cricket. And then the second one would be sat in the Stretford end watching us get drilled 5-0 at Old Trafford when Chelsea scored. Yeah, I had to sit there and listen to all the rags round me, give me loads of shit because they knew I was a City fan. They could tell because I wasn't jumping up and down going crazy, and walking out of that ground, listening to we'd beaten United 5-1 a few years earlier, so that was just nullified straight away. We'd lost that banter with them on that day. I think that was the two worst moments I've seen. That I think the funniest one wasn't an actual game or anything like that. It was in 1981 in March. I was at the Everton v Manchester City game in the FA Cup when we drew 2 apiece, and it was a cold day, and it was when they had standing up behind the goal and down the sides of the game, down the sides near the main stand was all, and City fans had the paddock all the way around to the halfway line, and then behind the goals for the FA Cup game. And my father was stood on the back of it, and behind the back row stood up. There was they could go down, and then the toilets were right behind. Okay, for everyone having a piss. And Paul Power scored the equaliser with a few minutes to go. So all the fans pushed forward and then pushed backwards when we scored. And then all I heard was my father scream. I turned round, and he was laying in the toilets in his back with piss all over him because he'd been pushed back into the toilets everywhere. And there was myself and my Uncle Eddie and this other guy who was with a mate called Ian. We're all killing ourselves laughing, not really celebrating, because my dad was just covered and head to toe in piss. He was laying in the middle of the toilets, in the middle of the toilets, and he had to drive the car home. So we all had our windows all down, and everyone's window going down the East Lancs Road all the way home back to Whitefield because the car stunk of piss. It was the most funniest thing I've ever seen. It was hilarious.
I remember going to Old Trafford with my football club when I was a kid in the 80s, and they played Leicester, and it was when Jesper Olsen and I think Arthur Albiston was at the back for United. Yeah. And we got there, and as the teams were coming out, we were looking over the Kipak, it's not the Kip, it's Stretford End, and they were calling out the teams. I was boo, was all the United things, and these lads behind me, they're probably about 5 years older than I was at the time. So who'd you spot? I was like, City. He was like, what the hell are you doing here? And I'm pretty sure Leicester went 1-0 up, and I was going, yeah. And then I'm sure United won 4-1 in the end. And every time they scored a goal, they had the programmes rolled up, and they were smacking me on the back of the head. You know, it was funny, and they were really, to be fair, you know, they were really nice. I mean, I was only about 15 at the time, but it was just a laugh. Do you know what I mean? There wasn't any of that nastiness that I think with City and United in recent times. You know, there was a bit of, it was more banter than it was, you know, hatred. You know, I think in recent times that's grown that gap, you know, between us.
I mean, I've got to give an honourable mention.
Yeah, be really quick because we need to.
I know it's got to be very quick. What I was going to say is one of my biggest, saddest days was leaving Main Road. I actually cried that day. I did cry that day when we left Main Road.
Yeah, I think we all did. Cal, you're not on camera at the moment. Are you still there, mate?
Yeah. This should be getting sorted now.
Okay.
Am I on?
Yeah, just tilt your camera up a little bit or sit back.
There we go. Should be fine
all right,
now.
Mate, what's your question is what's your worst moment, not for City, but Everton? What's your worst moment and funniest moment?
How long have we got left?
Yeah, very quick.
Quite long.
Very quick.
The worst moment, probably when David Moyes left to go to United. because it sounds, I know he's a cunt, but Moyes had like I love Moyes.
Apologies, anybody out there who's offended by the C word. I'm not offended by it. I use it all the time, but some people do get offended by it.
It's like the manner he left as well. And the way he left.
Certainly Americans, it's an absolute no-no in America.
He left and it was like, he left and was like, oh, and he was going out saying all the Everton fans are like disgusting and we're like future murderers and all that. And it's like, what are you on about? And he was like, that's the reason people vote the Conservatives and stuff is because of Everton fans. And it's like, we're the reason you've even got that move. Without us, you would never have got that move. So like, be quiet. The funniest moment, I can think of one for City as well, if you want me to, was Zinchenko knocking the Premier League title off. That was
funny. Yeah, that was funny.
That's hilarious because like everyone's buzzing and he just knocks it off and everyone's still cheering and you can see he's like, oh, I might have just broke the Premier League title here. The funniest for Everton is when John Joe against Leicester, John Joe Kenny kicks the ball to clear it and goes over his head and just goes in top corner. Oh. And Pickford just watches it as it goes in and all the Everton players just looked at him and stared at him. And the Leicester players didn't even celebrate because they'd be like, what's just happened?
Who was staring at, John Joe Kenny or Pickford?
Kenny. Both, probably. I've got one more, and that is when Liverpool fans slated Pickford for months. I'm like, oh, Pickford's this, Pickford's that. The game that Liverpool needed to beat us to go 2 points ahead of City, but Mr. Little Arms himself stopped Salah's shot, and Salah chips it over him. Pickford goes, rises like a salmon, boom, slams it down. Henderson, the greatest captain ever, shoots straight into Pickford's arms. And then we all know what happened. City won a title.
Yeah, I remember that.
You were a Rabina.
Hey, I'm quite happy with that description because certainly that was the season we won the title, and Everton did play a big part in us winning that title. Chris, were you going to say something?
I was, mate, but I've drunk too much. And it's gone.
I was just scared you were going to use the C word.
No. There's no.
You need the censor button.
You know the C word over in Australia is a term of endearment, don't you?
Yeah, it is here. It is here, but I know.
You call someone the C word here.
Oh, I remembered.
In America, it's an absolute no. They don't get it. They don't get it over there. In here, it's just like saying, "No, he's a twat." But over there, if you say C word, it's like it's nuclear war. It's like dropping a nuclear bomb.
Sorry, Andy. Another funny moment that I remember is this is after the game really, and it was my screensaver for a long time, and it was a picture when Gary Neville fed the goat at Main Road.
Yeah.
And it was a picture of Neville sort of stood like that behind the kick-out, and everyone behind him is either like that, giving him both. Every man in that crowd was giving Neville.
I saw that on Twitter last week. Somebody had posted something on Twitter last week.
That was my screensaver for years, mate, and that is a funny moment.
I tell you, if it's just about funny, what made you laugh, I never forget the clip, and it always makes me laugh every time I see it. Do you remember Mike Phelan and Ferguson in the dugout at Wembley? When they popped that balloon.
That was at Stamford Bridge.
Was it Stamford Bridge? Was it? That is so funny.
Yeah.
Ferguson's face is just absolutely. Oh, it's unbelievable. But anyway, looks like Carl's gone or he's off screen. But anyway, after his C-bomb. I hope that didn't offend you too much, Carl.
I'm here.
It is Carl. I hope that C-bomb didn't offend you too much.
No.
In the UK, some people frown upon that word, but I know others. I know certainly in the States, it's an absolute no. But anyway, thank you so much for the guests that came on tonight. Don't forget, we've had Alan, we've had Carl in Washington, we've had Martin, we've had Chris. We had Tom earlier who had to go. He's got to go and pump his weights before he goes to bed. And we've got Cal the Evertonian who came on tonight because Ryan's Wi-Fi was down. So Cal stepped in. So thank you very much for Cal the Evertonian for coming in. But anyway, this is Andy from Man City Fan TV. Don't forget, go over, check out all the other parts. There's some really interesting questions, interesting debate on there. And whatever you do, don't forget to subscribe. Hit that bell icon. Make sure your notifications are set to public, not private. And give us your comments below. We really, really, really do like your comments. And we always endeavour to make sure we reply back or give it a thumbs up. And yeah, we'll see you on Sunday night for a preview with the guys on the channel for the Burnley game, where we'll be discussing everything about the lineup, what system Pep should play, who plays, who doesn't, and what we think the score's going to be. But anyway, take care, and we'll see you soon.